The day I died, Consort Shu had just given birth to a firstborn son. Lanterns and banners hung everywhere in the Eastern Palace. The festive crackle of firecrackers drowned out the weakening breaths by my sickbed. The Crown Princess's bedchamber was as cold as an icehouse. Only her close maid knelt at the bedside sobbing softly. When Hu Zheng came in, he still carried the scent of the birthing room on him. He stood by my couch for a long while before taking my cold hand. His voice showed no trace of joy or sorrow. Chu Huaitang, go in peace. I will posthumously infeff you as consort Yuan and bury you with the rights due a principal wife. I gathered my last strength to pull my hand away. No need. If your highness truly has any pity, please allow me to be buried back in the Chu family ancestral tomb. I did not want to be trapped in the Eastern Palace after death, watching him grow old in love with his white moonlight. Hu Zheng's grip tightened. You are the crown princess. You ought to be interred in the imperial mausoleum. I tugged at the corner of my mouth and tasted blood. Crown princess, in your highness's heart, was I ever truly his crown princess? He fell silent. Outside the window another round of firecrackers erupted. The auspicious hour to celebrate the birth of the imperial eldest grandson had arrived. Hu Zheng released my hand and stood. The imperial physician says Consort Shu's delivery exhausted her vital energy. She must rest. Keep your funeral simple. Do not disturb her. I closed my eyes. The last thing I heard was the sound of his departing footsteps. When I opened them again, I was back 3 days before the consort selection banquet. The bronze mirror reflected a face still touched by youth. 15-year-old Chu Huaitang, her brows and eyes not yet fully matured, already showed the clear, dignified features she would have later. I reached out and touched the mirror. My fingertip felt cold. I had truly returned to 3 days. Before the Empress selected a principal wife for Crown Prince Hu Zheng and sent notices inviting daughters of third rank or above officials in the capital to enter the palace for selection, my maid Xiaoyaro brought in warm water. Seeing me already seated at the dressing table, she exclaimed, "Miss, why are you up so early? You don't need to go to the palace today, sleep a bit more." I shook my head. Get out the set of brushes and ink the Empress gave the other day. Xiaoyaro looked puzzled. Miss wants to practice calligraphy. Your handwriting is already among the best of the capital's noble girls. Among the best? Yes, in my previous life it was by that very fine hairpin small-kai script that I took first place in the calligraphy portion of the consort selection banquet. Coupled with my respectable family background and decorous conduct, the Empress designated me as the Crown Prince's principal wife, and then my long lonely life began. I stood up, not to practice. Pack that set of brushes and ink. I am going out. Where to? South of the city. Scene Temple. Xiaoyaro meant to ask more, but seeing my cold expression, she swallowed her questions and obediently went to prepare. Scene Temple sits halfway up the southern slope of the city. Its incense isn't abundant, but it wins on quietness. I had the carriage stop at the foot of the hill and carried the brocade box holding brushes and ink myself, climbing the stone steps step by step. Deep in the bamboo grove behind the temple is a small meditation courtyard, where the abbot retreats for practice. Ordinary pilgrims may not enter. I knocked on the courtyard door. After a moment, it opened. A young monk in a teal cloth robe stood in the doorway, handsome features, a demeanor as gentle and smooth as jade. When he saw me, a flicker of surprise passed across his eyes. "Mistress, have you perhaps taken the wrong way?" "This is," I interrupted softly, "Master Jing Chen. I'm Chu Huaitang, daughter of Minister Chu Mingxian. Of the Ministry of Rights. I apologize for the presumption of this visit. I came to ask you to appraise a set of brushes and ink." Jing Chen, who 3 years later would return to secular life, sit the imperial exams, and become the new top scholar Xie Yunju, had crossed my path a few times in my previous life. He was a guest at Hu Zheng's table. The study in the Crown Prince's residence hung his calligraphy, and Hu Zheng often said, "Yunzhou's talent is unmatched in the world." Back then I indulged a foolish wish, to like everything he liked. Whoever Hu Zheng admired, I respected as well. So when Xie Yunju came to the residence to discuss matters, I always brewed tea and served it myself. Each time he would rise, bow, and say, "Thank you, princess," with a steady gaze and courteous manner. 3 months before I died, Hu Zheng took Xu Linlang to a suburban villa to rest during pregnancy, and the Eastern Palace was largely empty. Xie Yunju came to deliver the Jiangnan ledgers and encountered me in the corridor, bent over with coughing. He stood there looking for a long while, then said softly, "Princess, take care." It was one of the few pieces of uncalculated concern I heard in that life. "How does Miss Chu know this humble monk's Dharma name?" Jing Chen frowned slightly. I lifted the brocade box. "My father once said there is a master Jing Chen at Xian Temple who is deeply accomplished in the way of brushes and ink. I happened upon a set of old ink and hoped master would appraise it." It was a lie, but Jing Chen glanced at the box and stepped aside. "Please come in." The meditation courtyard was austere: stone table, stone benches, and a cluster of green bamboo in the corner. I sat on a stone bench, opened the brocade box, and took out the set of imperial gifted purple jade gloss ink. Jing Chen took it, examined it carefully for a moment, then looked up at me. "It is indeed the genuine article made by the great ink master Fang Yulu of the previous dynasty. This ink is precious. Miss Chu really intends to have this humble monk appraise it." I shook my head slightly, not to appraise, but to give it to master. Jing Chen's hand froze. "Miss, you jest. I am a monk and have no use for such valuables." I cut him off, looking straight into his eyes. "Master, you will return to secular life. 3 years from now, my master will sit the spring imperial examination, top the list, enter the Hanlin Academy, and become a close minister to the Son of Heaven." Jing Chen's pupils contracted slightly, his voice dropped. "Miss Chu, what do you mean by that?" I slowed my tone. "I bear no ill will, I only wish to form a good bond with my master." In my hands, this set of brush and ink is a pearl covered in dust. Only in master's hands can it truly shine. I pushed the brocade box toward him. "Let's just say I'm investing early in a future pillar of the nation." Jing Chen was silent for a long time. Spring wind passed through the bamboo grove, the bamboo leaves rustling. In the distance a bell tolled. Long and lingering. "What does Miss Chu want?" He finally spoke. "Nothing at all." I stood up. "If I must say, I only hope that when my master achieves great success in the future, if he ever sees me in trouble, he'll reach out and lend a hand." After saying that, I bowed on one knee, then turned and walked away. When I reached the gate of the courtyard, his voice came from behind me. "Miss Chu." I turned around. Jing Chen stood by the stone table, still holding that piece of purple jade ink. Sunlight filtered through the bamboo leaves and fell upon his shoulders, spreading a warm glow. He said slowly, "With the consort selection banquet imminent, His Highness the Crown Prince already has someone in mind. I know the one in his heart has always been Xu Linlang, the second legitimate daughter of Minister Xu's household, the woman whose smile carried a small mole at the corner of her eye, delicate as if a gust of wind could topple her." "Thank you for the reminder, Master." I smiled, "but I never intended to be selected." A flicker of doubt passed through Jing Chen's eyes, but he didn't ask further. I left the meditation courtyard, descended the stone steps, and climbed into the carriage. Peony asked softly, "Miss, where are we going next?" "Back to the manor." I leaned against the carriage wall and closed my eyes. "Prepare the clothes for entering the palace in 3 days. Should we pick the prettiest set?" "No." I opened my eyes, looking at the streets flashing past the window. "Pick the safest set. If you don't make mistakes, you won't draw attention. If you don't draw attention, you won't be chosen in this life. I will completely steer clear of Hu Zheng, steer clear of the Eastern Palace, and steer clear of that absurd marriage that consumed my whole life." 3. The selection banquet for consorts was held on the Cheonghua Terrace in the Imperial Gardens. It was spring, and the garden was aflutter with blooms, purple and red in a dazzling array. Dozens of noble ladies sat in order according to family status and rank, each elaborately dressed, their jade ornaments tinkling. I sat in the middle rear row, wearing a lotus-colored dress embroidered with plum branches, my hair pierced with only a single white jade pin, so plain it verged on shabby. Peony murmured early this morning, "Miss, the other young ladies are dressed so splendidly, won't you look too plain like this?" I faced the bronze mirror and took off my earrings. Let plain be plain, I'm not the heroine today. In my previous life I wore a vermilion gown splashed with gold, my head adorned with red gold and emerald hair ornaments that chimed as I moved, my every glance radiant. When Huazheng first looked at me, there was indeed a look of astonished admiration in his eyes, but it was only a brief amazement, like seeing an exquisite piece of porcelain, admiring its craftsmanship, yet not wanting to bring it home to face it day and night. What he wanted was never porcelain, what he wanted was the vivid, living Xu Linlang, who could cry and laugh, and keep him constantly on edge. His Highness the Crown Prince has arrived, the eunuch's shrill voice rang out. I lowered my eyes and listened to the footsteps draw near from afar. A pair of black boots stopped not far in front of me, the golden python embroidered on the hem baring its fangs and brandishing its claws. Get up, all of you. It was Huazheng's voice. 17-year-old Huazheng's voice still carried a touch of youthful clarity, but the aristocratic pride and aloofness in his tone already overlapped with the cold crown prince of her previous life. The noble ladies rose gracefully and curtsied. I followed suit, keeping my head lowered the whole time. The Empress said gently, "Raise your heads, though today is a consort selection. There's no need to be overly restrained, treat it like an ordinary family banquet." Only then did the noble ladies dare to lift their eyes. I also raised my head, gazing calmly at the main seat. The Empress sat upright at the head, dignified and resplendent. Beside her sat Huazheng, dressed in a dark robe embroidered with golden serpents. His features were finely chiseled, yet veiled with a faint chill. His gaze swept over the audience below, paused on me for a moment, then the gaze shifted away and fell on Xu Linlang in the front row. Today, Xu Linlang was wearing a goose-yellow brocade dress embroidered with 100 butterflies amid blossoms, her hair done in a flying immortal bun, adorned with a filigree gold phoenix hairpin. Radiant and dazzling, she sensed Huazheng's gaze, her cheeks flushing slightly as she shyly lowered her eyes. Deep affection between man and woman, a perfect match made in heaven. I shift my gaze and look at the cup before me. The consort selection process is the same as in my previous life. First comes virtue. Palace matrons ask questions to assess female morals and training. My answers were by the book, neither dazzling nor mistaken. Next came speech, evaluating poetry. I chose the simplest spring ode, and my critique was mediocre. Then came appearance, which was basically assessing looks and bearing. I kept my eyes lowered like a puppet. The last event was the calligraphy test. In my previous life I had dazzled everyone here. My tiny regular script, adorned with floral hairpins, flowed like clouds and water. Even the Empress praised it as somewhat in the manner of Lady Wei. This life, the eunuch spread out the rice paper and ground the ink. The noble ladies stepped forward in turn to write the assigned line of poetry. May I find one true heart, to grow old without parting. Xu Linlang's small regular script was delicate and pretty. Though it lacked my technique, it was fresh and charming. After she finished, she blushed and glanced at Huazheng. The corner of his mouth curved slightly. Then it was my turn. I walked to the desk and picked up the brush. The tip soaked with ink hovered over the paper. Every gaze focused on my hand. The Chu family's legitimate daughter's calligraphy was recognized across the capital as exceptional. I took a deep breath. Then, I deliberately jerked my wrist. A drop of thick ink fell and plop struck the center of the paper, rapidly spreading into a blot. Silence filled the hall. The Empress was stunned. Huazheng frowned. I set the brush down, stepped back, and kneeled to beg forgiveness. Your servant was nervous and accidentally soiled the paper. Please forgive me, Your Majesty. The Empress came to her senses and disappointment flashed in her eyes. She waved her hand. Enough. Rise. Next, I stood and returned to my seat. From the corner of my eye I saw Huazheng staring at me. The look was complicated, tinged with puzzlement and displeasure. He shouldn't be displeased if I lost. He could naturally choose Xu Linlang and make up for the regrets of his previous life. Isn't that exactly what he wanted to do after being reborn? Why look at me like that? The selection continued. The other noble ladies, perhaps rattled by my act, performed below their usual level. Finally, the Empress and Huazheng whispered together for a moment and decided. The second daughter of Minister Xu of the Ministry of Personnel, Xu Linlang, gentle, virtuous, with both moral character and talent, may serve as the Crown Prince's principal consort. The eunuch announced it loudly. Xu Linlang wept with joy and kneeled to give thanks. The other candidates displayed various expressions: envy, jealousy, and some relief. I lowered my eyes and breathed out lightly. At last, I'd avoided it. After the banquet broke up, the noble ladies walked out in small groups. I deliberately slowed my pace and fell to the rear. "Miss Chu, wait." Hu Zheng's voice came from behind. My body stiffened. I turned and bowed. "Your Highness the Crown Prince." Hu Zheng approached. He was a head taller than me, standing before me. The shadow he cast almost completely engulfed me. The familiar scent of dragon amber reached me, and my stomach flipped. In my previous life I smelled that scent for 10 years, from the wedding cup on our nuptial night to the cold medicines at my deathbed. Hu Zheng spoke evenly, emotionless. "Today, Miss Chu seems not herself. Your servant is dull and has made your Highness laugh at her." I said with my head lowered. "Dull?" He let out a light laugh. "The Chu family's legitimate daughter, the capital's foremost talented lady, would she soil the paper from nerves?" I was silent. "Raise your head," he ordered. I slowly lifted my eyes to meet his. 17-year-old Hu Zheng still had the sharpness of youth in his brows and eyes, not the deep inscrutability of the man from my previous life, but the way he looked at me now reminded me of that life. Whenever I did something to displease him, he would look at me like this, perched high above. "Does your Highness instruct me?" I asked calmly. Hu Zheng stared at me for a long time, so long that the eunuchs nearby began to shift uneasily. "Enough." He finally looked away. His tone flattened. "Since Miss Chu is unwell today, I will not press it. Return to your residence and rest well. Thank you for your Highness's concern." I bowed again and turned to leave. As I stepped out of Chunghua Terrace, Xiaoyao ran up to meet me. "Miss, are you all right? What did the Crown Prince say to you?" "Nothing." I shook my head, returned to the mansion. Once in the carriage, I realized my palms were slick with cold sweat. Hu Zheng had grown suspicious. He must have noticed my abnormality. But it didn't matter. The selection was settled. Xu Linlang would be the Crown Prince's principal consort. Between him and me there would be no more intersections. I closed my eyes and told myself, "This life, I will live for myself alone." On the 7th day after the 5-selection consort banquet, the Xu family and the Eastern Palace officially exchanged the betrothal papers, and the wedding was set for 3 months later. The capital buzzed with excitement. Everywhere people spoke of the match between the Crown Prince and the Xu family's daughter. It was said His Highness the Crown Prince was very pleased with the marriage and personally went to the Imperial Household Department to oversee the betrothal gifts, exceeding the usual standards. The Chu family, by contrast, became peaceful. Father came home from court and sighed several times. "Huaitang, what on earth happened that day? How did you end up getting ink on the paper?" I lowered my head over an embroidered handkerchief. I was nervous. "Daughter," Mother couldn't help but complain, "you've entered the palace so many times since you were little. When have you ever been nervous? Now look, the position of Crown Princess is gone, and we've insulted the Empress." I set down my needlework. "Mother, I don't want to marry into the royal family." Mother froze. "What's so good about the royal family? It looks glorious, but only those inside know the hardships. Your daughter would rather marry an ordinary family and live a steady life." Mother's eyes reddened as she took my hand. "You child, did you hear something?" I shook my head. What happened in a past life must not be spoken of. Just as they were speaking, a maid outside came to report, "Master, Madam, His Royal Highness the Crown Prince has come to visit." The whole family was startled. Father hurriedly stood up. "Quick, open the main gate to welcome him." Hu Zheng came in plain clothes, accompanied by only 2 guards. He wore a moon-white informal robe and a jade crown binding his hair, looking every bit like a refined scion of a noble family. "Lord Chu, there's no need for formalities." He offered a mock supporting hand. "I happened to pass by today and remembered Miss Chu seemed unwell at the consort selection banquet, so I came to pay a visit." "Father, overwhelmed by the favor, our daughter is fine. Your Highness need not worry." Hu Zheng's gaze fell on me. He said gently, "Miss Chu, you still look unwell. Have you seen the Imperial physician?" I lowered my eyes. "Thank you for your concern, Your Highness. This servant simply had a slight chill, and I've already recovered." "That's good." Hu Zheng paused. I came today for one more matter. The third day of next month is Linlang's birthday. I'd like to hold a small banquet in the Eastern Palace and invite a few acquainted noble ladies to gather. Miss Chu and Linlang have known each other since childhood. You must honor us with your presence. Shu Linlang's birthday banquet. This happened in the previous life as well. By then I had already been designated as his crown princess. This banquet was actually arranged to introduce me early as the lady of the house. I had been busy for a full half-month, handling every detail because I wanted to bring him honor, but at the banquet, Shu Linlang accidentally knocked over a wine cup and soaked my dress. Hu Zheng was the first to steady her and asked gently, "Are you burned?" They didn't notice the mess on my skirt at all. Later Shu Linlang cried, saying she had been thinking of her deceased mother, so Hu Zheng abandoned the guests and accompanied her to walk in the back garden. He left me alone to face those sympathetic or mocking glances. I looked up. "Your Highness, my health has indeed been poor lately, and I'm afraid I might pass illness to Miss Shu, so I will not go." Hu Zheng's smile faded a little. "Miss Chu, are you denying Gu face?" "I wouldn't dare," I curtsied. "It's just that I truly lack the strength." The air grew still. My father's forehead was sweating from nervousness. He kept signaling to me with his eyes. Hu Zheng stared at me for a long time, then slowly said, "If that's the case, I won't force it. Miss Chu, take good care of yourself." He turned and left. After my father saw him out, he came back and erupted at me. "Huai Tang, what on earth is wrong with you today? The crown prince himself came to ask. How dare you refuse?" "My daughter really isn't feeling well," I said softly. "Even if you're sick, you still have to go." Father flicked his sleeve. "This is such a great honor, don't be ungrateful." Mother held him back. "Sir, don't be angry. Huai Tang might really be unwell." Father pointed at me. "Even if you're unwell, you have to endure it. On the 3rd of next month, you must go. Dress well, don't disgrace the Chu family." I pressed my lips together and said nothing. I knew arguing was useless. Under imperial power, there is no true freedom. 6 On the 3rd day, I went anyway. I wore a light jade green dress, with 2 plain silver hairpins in my hair, simpler even than on the day of the consort selection banquet. The Eastern Palace was festooned with lights and decorations, lively and bustling. Shu Linlang was today's star, wearing a bright red, gold-embroidered long gown patterned with begonia flowers and phoenix tails, her hair adorned with a crimson gold 9 phoenix pin threaded with many strands, so lavish she almost looked like a newlywed. She saw me, her eyes lighting up, and came over warmly. "Sister Huai Tang, you're here." I stepped back half a pace, avoiding the hand she reached out. "Miss Shu." Shu Linlang's hand froze midair, an embarrassed look flashed across her eyes, but she quickly smiled again. "Sister, why so formal? We grew up together, just call me Linlang. One must not neglect propriety," I said calmly. "Now that you are the crown prince's officially designated primary consort, this humble servant dares not overstep." Shu Linlang bit her lip, her eyes slightly reddening as if I had bullied her. At that moment, Hu Zheng walked over. He was dressed in red today as well, with a golden coronet and jade belt, standing beside Shu Linlang. They truly looked like a perfect couple. "What's wrong?" He looked at Shu Linlang, his tone gentle. "Nothing." Shu Linlang forced a smile. "It's just that Sister Huai Tang is too polite to me, and I'm not used to it." Hu Zheng looked at me. I curtsied. "Your Highness." His gaze swept over me, his brows slightly furrowed. "Miss Chu, your attire is a bit too plain. Could it be that the Chu family has encountered some difficulties lately?" That question was asked with a cutting edge. The noble ladies nearby were already whispering among themselves. My expression did not change. "I only think that today is Miss Shu's special day, and I shouldn't steal the spotlight." Hu Zheng stared at me for a few seconds. "Take your seat," he said at last, and as he turned, he gently took Shu Linlang's hand. Shu Linlang's cheeks flushed, and she shyly leaned against his side. The banquet begins. The music is melodious, and the dance is graceful. The noble ladies laughed and chatted, and everyone raised their cups to toast and congratulate Shu Linlang. I sat in the furthest corner, quietly eating. Hu Zheng sat in the main seat, with Shu Linlang at his side. He occasionally whispered to her, making her cover her mouth and smile. Anyone watching would sigh over the crown prince's affection for his fiancée, but his gaze, whether deliberate or not, kept. Drifting toward me, after 3 rounds of wine, Shu Linlang rose to change her clothes. When she passed by me she paused slightly and said softly, "Sister Huaitang, there's something I want to say to you alone." I looked up and saw pleading in her eyes. I put down my chopsticks and rose to follow her out. At the corner of the corridor she stopped, turning, tears glistened in her eyes. "Sister, are you blaming me?" I looked at her calmly. "Blaming you for what?" she choked out. "Blaming me for taking the crown princess's position. I know you've liked the crown prince since you were young. On the selection banquet day you deliberately ruined the character because you were hurt, right?" I smiled. "Miss Shu, you're overthinking." "I'm not." She grabbed my sleeve. "Sister, I really never wanted to take it. It was the crown prince. I feel guilty. But I couldn't help my heart," she cried with tear-streaked cheeks. I calmly pulled my sleeve away. "Miss Shu, the crown princess position is yours, and His Highness is yours. You don't need to apologize to me or feel guilty." "But," I cut her off, "I never liked the crown prince, never did, do now, or ever will. You can be at ease." Shu Linlang froze. She probably hadn't expected me to be so decisive. Footsteps came then. Hu Zheng appeared at the other end of the corridor. Seeing Shu Linlang crying, his expression darkened and he hurried over. "Linlang, what's wrong?" Shu Linlang flung herself into his arms, sobbing, "Your Highness. It's all my fault. If you must be angry with me." Anger stained Hu Zheng's brow. He lifted his head and his look toward me was cold as ice. "Chu Huaitang, Linlang is innocent and kind. Why must you be so aggressive at every turn?" I bowed on one knee, speaking serenely. "Your servant only told Miss Shu that she never had improper feelings for your Highness." I don't know why Miss Shu grew so red-eyed. Hu Zheng sneered. "You're lying." I straightened. "If your Highness does not believe me, I have nothing more to say. The banquet is not yet over. Your servant takes her leave." With that I turned to go. "Stop." Hu Zheng's voice came from behind, repressed anger in it. I halted but did not look back. He came in front of me and forced me to meet his gaze. "You deliberately failed the selection. Dressed so plainly today, and now say you never liked me. Chu Huaitang, what are you thinking? Playing hard to get. I wanted to be as far from you as possible. The farther, the better." But I could not say that. I dropped my eyes. "Your Highness, you worry too much. I only realized that some people, if they don't belong to you, you shouldn't hope for them." Hu Zheng stared at me and stayed silent for a long while. Shu Linlang sobbed softly behind him. A spring breeze passed through the corridor, lifting our hems. From afar the laughter and cheers of the banquet faintly came, making this corner feel especially quiet. Hu Zheng finally spoke, his voice calm again. "Fine, since Miss Chu has come to terms with it, I will not force the matter. You may go back." "Thank you, Your Highness." I bowed once more and turned to leave. When I left the Eastern Palace, dusk had already fallen. Xiaoyaro waited by the carriage. Seeing me come out she hurried over. "Miss, are you all right? Why did you come out so early?" "I'm fine." I shook my head. "Let's go home." Once seated in the carriage I noticed my fingers trembling slightly. I hated his indifference in my past life, hated his entanglement in this life, hated that even though he had Shu Linlang he still provoked me. I hated myself more how, though reborn and knowing the ending, I still let him affect my emotions. Xiaoyaro said softly, "Miss, after you went in just now, young Master Xie came." I was startled. "Which young Master Xie?" "It was Master Jing Chen of Xin Temple," Xiaoyaro said. "He has left monastic life and now goes by Xie Yunzu. The Crown Prince even invited him today, saying they were to discuss flood control in Jiangnan." "Xie Yunzu. He left the monkhood earlier than expected. He saw you?" I asked. Xiaoyaro nodded. "He saw you. He also asked your maid if Miss Chu was well today. I told him you were fine. Then he smiled and went in." I leaned against the carriage wall and closed my eyes. After Shu Linlang's birthday banquet, I feigned illness and stayed home, declining all invitations. Father complained at first, but when he saw the Crown Prince bore me no ill will, he let me be. Mother heaved a sigh of relief. "Huaitang is quiet by nature and doesn't like festivities. It's a good chance to look around at other families." She meant the legitimate second son of Minister Li of the Ministry of War and the heir of the Marquis of Jingen. I declined both politely. Our daughter is still young. I don't want to betroth her so early. At 16 she's not young anymore, mother sighed. Delay too long and all the good matches will be taken. I smiled without replying, but in my heart thought, in this life I'd rather not marry than step into the imperial family or any great household again. If I marry, I want someone who truly cares for me, even if he comes from humble origins, even if he has no power or status, as long as his eyes and heart are mine alone. Half a month later there was news from the capital. Xie Yunzu had been personally selected by His Majesty as the top scholar at the palace examination and appointed compiler at the Hanlin Academy. On the day his name was posted on the golden list, he rode through the streets in red, unmatched in bearing. Women across the city flocked to see him and threw scented handkerchiefs and flowers into his arms. Xiaoyaro returned from the street, excited. Miss, you should have seen him. Top scholar Xie is so handsome, even more handsome than the crown prince. I was embroidering a landscape when my hand trembled. The needle pierced my fingertip, a bead of blood welling out and staining the white silk red. Miss, Xiaoyaro cried. I shook my head and put the finger to my mouth. The metallic sweetness spread over my tongue. Xie Yunzu had become top scholar a year earlier than in my previous life. Had I altered his fate? Had that set of brushes and that reminder made him resolve to leave Xin Temple early? Just then a maid announced at the door, Miss, top scholar Xie has come to pay a visit. I was momentarily stunned. Xiaoyaro froze too. Top scholar Xie, to see master, the maid said. No, top scholar Xie says he has come to thank Miss Chu. Father was not at home and mother had gone to the temple to make offerings. I hesitated a moment, then said, show him into the front hall. I'll be there shortly. After changing into clothes fit for receiving guests, I went to the hall. Xie Yunzu stood in the center of the room with his back to me, looking at a hanging calligraphy on the wall. He truly had returned to secular life, wearing a blue scholar's robe, his hair bound with a jade hairpin, his bearing upright as bamboo. Hearing footsteps, he turned. When our eyes met there was a flicker of surprise in them, quickly reined in, and he cupped his hands in salute. Miss Chu, Lord Xie. I returned the greeting. Congratulations on achieving top scholar. He smiled. Yunzu owes today's success largely to Miss Chu's set of brushes and ink. Without that purple jade light ink, Yunzu may not have decided so early to leave the monastery and sit for the exam. So it was because of that. You flatter me, my lord, I said, inviting him to sit. It is your own talent that brought you here, not anything of mine. The maid served the tea. Xie Yunju lifted the cup but did not drink. He only watched the tea leaves rise and fall. He suddenly spoke. Miss Chu, on the day of the consort selection banquet, you did it on purpose, didn't you? My hand trembled and a few drops of tea splashed out. Why would you say that, sir? I forced myself to stay calm. I was there that day too. Xie Yunju looked up, his gaze clear, when Miss Chu put down her brush. Your wrist was steady as a mountain. That drop of ink, you shook it off deliberately. I fell silent. Why? He asked. The position of crown princess is something many people long for but cannot obtain. Why would you give it up? I set the teacup down and looked out the window in the courtyard. A begonia tree was in full bloom, its pink and white petals drifting in the breeze. I said softly, Sir Xie, if it were you, would you want a wife whose heart belongs to someone else? Xie Yunju was taken aback. I smiled faintly. Everyone in the capital knows about His Highness the Crown Prince and Miss Shu. If I were to marry into that, what would I be? The third party, or a mere ornament holding the title of principal wife? Miss Chu, I don't want to live like that, I interrupted him. I don't want to watch my husband show concern and warmth to another woman every day. I don't want to lie alone on my sickbed and hear him celebrating someone else's childbirth. Xie Yunju looked at me, his expression complicated. You seem to have been through a lot. My chest tightened and I lowered my eyes. Only conjecture. Miss Shu is delicate and charming, and the crown prince is deeply attached to her. Between such two people, where is there room for a third? Xie Yunju said nothing for a long time. Then slowly, Miss Chu sees things clearly. Not clear, I said with a bitter smile. Just cowardly. I'm cowardly, I don't dare to fight, and I don't want to fight. So I can only hide. Xie Yunju spoke bluntly. Recently, the Crown Prince seems to care a lot about you. A few days ago at the Hanlin Academy deliberations, His Highness specifically asked about you, whether you were still ill. Hu Zheng, what exactly does he intend? Thank you for the warning, sir. I rose. I'll be careful. Xie Yunju also stood, took a small brocade box from his sleeve, and handed it to me. What is this? A return gift? He smiled. That brush and ink set was too valuable. Yunju has nothing to repay you with. This is a sutra I copied while at the temple, written using the ink Miss Chu gave me. It isn't worth much, but it expresses my feelings. I took the brocade box and opened it. Inside was a hand-copied heart sutra. The calligraphy is austere and vigorous, its force piercing the paper, truly the mark of a master. A faint fragrance of ink lingers. It's the unique pine soot aroma of Ziyu light ink. Your handwriting is excellent, I said softly, not as good as Miss Chu's. He paused. If there's a chance, I'd like to ask Miss Chu for guidance in calligraphy. I closed the brocade box. My lord, you jest. You're a top scholar, how could I dare to instruct you? He looked at me. Then, we can at least be friends, right? I was taken aback. A faint smile lingered in Xie Yunzu's eyes, gentle as warm jade, carrying no hint of aggression. All right, Xie Yunju smiled, bid farewell, and left. I stood in the front hall, unmoving for a long time. 9. The news of Xie Yunzu's visit somehow reached Huazheng. 3 days later, the court issued an edict summoning me to come to the palace to pay respects to the Empress Dowager. Mother was anxious. Why would the Empress Dowager suddenly summon you? Is it because of the selection of consorts banquet? Mother, don't worry, I reassured her. I'll go and be back soon. To be honest, I'm not confident either. The Empress sat in the main hall of Fengyi Palace, dressed in a bright yellow phoenix robe, dignified and imposing. I knelt to pay my respects. Your subject, Chu Huaitang, greets the Empress. Rise, be seated. I give thanks and sit down. Lowering my eyes, the Empress Dowager speaks slowly. Huaitang, has your health improved lately? Thank you, Your Majesty, for your concern. I have recovered well. That's good. She paused. On the day of the consort selection banquet, you seemed unwell. I thought it over later. Perhaps I was too hasty and ended up frightening you. I hurried to my feet. This humble girl is terrified. It was my own lack of skill. It has nothing to do with your ladyship. The Empress waved her hand. Sit and speak. I didn't summon you today to blame you. It's just, there are some things I wish to ask you. My heart tightened. Are you well acquainted with top scorer Xie? She asked bluntly. So it was because of this, as expected. I answered cautiously. Your Majesty, we are not acquainted. It's just that some days ago, top scorer Xie came to the residence to thank my father, and I happened to be there, so we met once. Is that all? That's all. The Empress looked at me, her gaze deep. She sighed. Huaitang, I watched you grow up, and your character and beauty are both first-rate. On the day of the consort selection banquet, I originally intended to choose you. I lowered my head and said nothing. But Zheng, the Empress paused. He seems to prefer that girl from the Shu family. Though I am his mother, it would not be right to force him too much. I said softly, Your Majesty's favor is more than I deserve. Miss Shu is gentle and pleasing. She and His Highness the Crown Prince are a fine match. The Empress stared at me for a long time. Do you really think so? Really? She fell silent for a moment, then suddenly asked, What do you think of Xie the top scholar? I was taken aback. Xie Zhuangyuan is exceptionally talented and upright in conduct, a pillar of the nation. The Empress spoke slowly. What I asked was, what kind of person is he? Is he worthy of trust? My heart skipped a beat. Your Majesty. The Empress picked up the teacup. I won't hide it from you. A few days ago, top scholar Xie made a request to His Majesty. He wants to marry you. I was completely stunned. Xie Yunju asked His Majesty to marry me. Are you very surprised? The Empress looked at me. I was surprised as well. Scholar Xie said that he saw you once at Xin Temple and fell in love with you at first sight. Now that his name is on the golden list, he wishes to ask for a favor and marry you. My mind went completely blank. I called you here today to ask your thoughts. The Empress set down her teacup. If you are willing, I will act on your behalf and petition His Majesty to grant the marriage. If you are not willing, Your servant is willing. I blurted it out after I said it, even I was stunned. The Empress also froze for a moment, then smiled. You're certainly straightforward. My face flushed and I lowered my head. The Empress asked, are you sure you won't reconsider, Xie? Zhuang Yuan may be a good man, but his family is humble and is far beneath the Chu household in status. If you marry him, you may suffer some grievances. I am not afraid, I said softly. Family rank is only the judgment of outsiders. Between husband and wife, what matters is sincerity. A trace of complexity flashed across the Empress's eyes. Sincerity, she murmured, repeating the word. After a long moment she said, very well, since you are willing, I will grant your wish. In 3 days, His Majesty will issue an edict to confer the marriage. Thank you for your grace, Your Highness. I knelt and kowtowed. When I walked out of Fengyi Palace, my steps felt like I was floating. It wasn't until I got into the carriage that I slowly came back to my senses. Xie Yunzu asked to marry me. His Majesty wants to bestow a marriage. Just as I was thinking that, the carriage suddenly stopped. A guard's voice came from outside. His Highness the Crown Prince has ordered that Miss Chu step out of the carriage for a word. 10 Hu Zheng stood in the pavilion beside the palace path, dressed in the apricot yellow everyday attire of the Crown Prince. He stood with his hands clasped behind his back, his figure tall and straight, yet exuding an indescribable chill. I stepped forward, bent my knees, and saluted. Your Highness. He didn't turn around. Did you agree to Xie Yunzhou's proposal to marry you? Yes, I replied calmly. Hu Zheng suddenly turned around. His face was sullen, anger surging in his eyes. Chu Huaitang, do you know what you are doing? I do. He stepped closer. What do you think you know? What kind of person is Xie Yunzu? A top scholar from a poor family, once a monk, rootless and without foundation. He doesn't even have a decent house in the capital. You marry him, what kind of good days could you possibly have? I lifted my gaze to him. Your Highness, what kind of days do you consider good? At the very least. He paused. I looked at him with mockery in my eyes. At the very least, like Miss Shu, living in the Eastern Palace, draped in silks and brocades, attended by swarms of servants, waiting to become Empress and then Empress Dowager. Hu Zheng fixed his eyes on me and did not speak. What I want is only a person whose heart is devoted to me, someone who will stay by my bedside when I am ill, someone who will comfort me when I am sad, rather than someone whose heart holds someone else, yet expects me to be virtuous and magnanimous. Hu Zheng's expression changed. You're still blaming me for choosing Linlang and not you. I do not dare. You don't dare. He let out a cold laugh. You don't dare, yet you deliberately lost at the consort's election banquet. You don't dare, yet you refused to attend Linlang's birthday feast. Do you dare? Will you agree to Xie Yunzhou's proposal? I was silent. Speak, he barked. I lifted my eyes. What does your Highness wish this minister's daughter to say? You say this maid actually admires His Highness, that its love turned to hate, that everything I did was to get His Highness's attention. Hu Zheng was stunned. I continued, rest assured, Your Highness, this maid has never felt romantic love for you, not before, not now, and never will I. You're lying. He ground his teeth. In the previous life you clearly. Halfway through his sentence, he abruptly stopped. His face instantly turned pale. I looked at him, and the last trace of wishful thinking in my heart was shattered. He really had been reborn just like me. He came back with memories of his past life. Your Highness has returned as well, I said softly. Hu Zheng stepped back, looking at me as if I were a monster. You too, I admitted calmly. Yes. Hu Zheng's lips moved, but no sound came out. Huaitang, his voice was hoarse. I cut him off. Your Highness, in my past life I did many things wrong. I was wrong to ever long for your Highness's love, wrong to remain trapped in the Eastern Palace for a lifetime, wrong to be unable to let go even in death. In this life, I intend to correct those mistakes. I bent my knees and made a deep bow. Please, Your Highness, grant my wish. Hu Zheng stood where he was, motionless. The wind swept through the pavilion, lifting the hem of his robe. He spoke slowly, his voice very soft. What if I said I regret it? I froze. He looked at me, and there was actually a trace of pain in his eyes. In my previous life, it was I who wronged you. I neglected you, ignored you, and left you alone in the Eastern Palace for 10 long years. I clenched my hands, my nails sank into my palms, bringing a faint sting. What's the point of saying this now, Your Highness? I asked. Yes, he took a step forward and grabbed my wrist. Huaitang, this life is different. I know I was wrong. I know how to cherish you now. Give me a chance, will you? His hand was very hot, so hot that I almost shook him off, but I didn't move. I simply looked at him calmly and asked, Your Highness, what about Miss Xu, Huazheng? Froze, I continued. Don't you love her? In our past life, you neglected me for 10 years because of her. In this life, didn't you choose her as the crown princess the very first moment? Now you say you want to cherish me. What about her? Where are you going to put her? Gu, he opened his mouth, but no words came out. I gently drew my hand back. Your Highness, look, you are always like this, wanting this, yet unwilling to let go of that. In the end, both people get hurt. Huazheng's face was as pale as paper. I stepped back one pace. This servant girl is tired. I don't want to meddle between you and Miss Xu anymore. In this life, I only want to find a simple person and live a simple life. He clenched his teeth. Is Xie Yunju so simple? What can he give you? The salary of a 6th-rank Shozhuan. He can't even afford your current food, clothes, and expenses. So what? I smiled. I can eat a little less, wear a little less. As long as my heart is full, life will be sweet. Huazheng's voice trembled. Do you truly hate me this much? I didn't answer. Your subject's daughter takes her leave. As I turned to go, I heard him say behind me, Chu Huaitang, I will not let go. I only realized when I walked all the way to the carriage that my face was wet. Peony was terrified. Miss, why are you crying? Did His Highness the Crown Prince bully you? No. I wiped away my tears. The wind's strong, it got in my eyes. I climbed into the carriage, leaned against the wall, and closed my eyes. 11. The imperial edict bestowing marriage arrived at the Chu residence 3 days later. By the mandate of heaven, the emperor decrees, Chu Huaitang, daughter of Chu Mingxian, vice minister of rights, is gentle and sincere, with dignified conduct and appearance. Xie Yunju, the current top scholar, is a man of both talent and virtue, and he is of marriageable age. I have heard that the two of you are deeply devoted to each other. I hereby bestow this marriage and order the wedding to be held on an auspicious date, by imperial decree. After the eunuch finished reading the imperial edict, everyone in the manor knelt to give thanks. Father accepted the imperial edict. After seeing off the eunuch, he summoned me to the study. Huitang, are you truly willing to accept this marriage? I am, I nodded. Although Xie Yunju ranked first in the imperial examinations, he comes from humble origins. If you marry him, I'm afraid you'll have to endure some hardship. Father sighed. I had hoped to find you a suitable match from a family of equal standing. I disagreed. Father, a well-matched marriage doesn't necessarily bring happiness. Father was taken aback. I knelt and said, Your daughter knows you have my best interests at heart. But my daughter in this life asks not for great wealth or high rank, only peace of mind. Xie Yunju, he's a good man. Your daughter believes he will treat me well. Father looked at me, silent for a long time, then helped me to my feet. He waved his hand. Never mind, since it is your own choice. As your father I won't say much more. As for the dowry, your father will prepare everything properly, and I will never let you be wronged in the Xie family. Thank you, Father Xie. When I walked out of the study, my mother was waiting at the door. Her eyes rimmed with red. She took my hand. Huaitang, mother can't bear to part with you. I leaned on her shoulder. A daughter is reluctant to leave her mother too, but a daughter must marry. The Xie family. Mother hesitated. Xie Zhuangyuan's parents died early. There is only a younger sister at home. If you marry in, you'll be the mistress of the household, so you won't have to suffer from a mother-in-law. It's just, after all, it's a poor family. I'm afraid you won't be used to it. I laughed. I can manage. Plain tea and simple meals are a kind of blessing too. Mother patted my head and said nothing more. 12. News of the imperial betrothal spread through the capital in no time. Xu Linlang arrived. She naturally took my hand. Sister Huaitang, are you really going to marry the top scholar Xie? The imperial edict has been issued, so of course it's true, I said calmly. But, she bit her lip. His Highness the Crown Prince, he's very upset. I pulled my hand back. Miss Shu, that's not something you should be saying to me. Shu Linlang's eyes turned red. Sister, you know perfectly well that His Highness has you in his heart. These days he's been drinking himself senseless and won't listen to anyone. Yesterday he even said he would break off the engagement. Break off the engagement? Has Huazheng gone mad? His engagement to Shu Linlang was a marriage decreed by the imperial edict. If it were truly dissolved, it would be defying the imperial will. Even as the crown prince, he couldn't shoulder that crime, I said solemnly. Miss Shu, His Highness is only momentarily confused. He will soon come to his senses. You are his rightful wife, the one who will spend a lifetime with him. What you should do is persuade him properly, not come looking for me. Shu Linlang shook her head. I can't persuade him, he said. He said he regrets it, that the one he truly loves is you. I gently pulled my hand free from hers. Miss Shu, please go back. Between His Highness and me, it's already over. I am already betrothed. For you to say these things is improper. Shu Linlang looked at me, tears streaming down. Sister, as long as you cancel the betrothal, I am willing to serve one husband with you. If you are upset, I will give the crown princess title to you. Miss Shu, watch your words. I cut her off coldly. Shu Linlang froze. She probably hadn't expected me to be so ruthless. I called for Xiaoyao. See Miss Shu out. My wonderful mood was completely thrown into chaos by her. Just as I was thinking that, a clamor came from outside. Peony rushed in a panic. Miss, His Highness the Crown Prince is here. He's drunk and insists on barging in. A surge of anger flared up in my heart. What on earth is he trying to do? I got up and walked to the front hall. Huazheng reeked of alcohol, his clothes disheveled, eyes bloodshot. A few guards blocked him, but didn't dare use force. I said in a low voice, Your Highness, what are you doing? Huazheng saw me, pushed the guards aside, and staggered over. Huai Tang. He reached out, wanting to touch my face. I stepped back. Please conduct yourself with propriety, Your Highness. His hand froze in midair. Behave yourself. He laughed, a desolate smile. You're telling me to behave, Chu Haitang. In our past life you were my wife. In this life you should be my wife as well. And now you tell me to behave, I said coldly. Your Highness is already betrothed, and so am I. Please return, Your Highness, and do not compromise your dignity, decorum. Huazheng suddenly grabbed my wrist. To hell with decorum. I want only you. He was very strong, and his grip hurt me. Let go. I struggled, not letting go. He grabbed me tightly. Huaitang, I know I was wrong. I was foolish. I wronged you. Give me a chance, and I will treat you well. Never let you suffer another bit of grievance. Your Highness, I grit out. You're drunk. I'm not drunk. He barked sharply. I'm perfectly sober. Huaitang, tell me, what must you do to turn back? You want me, Gu, to break off the engagement? Fine, I'll do it right now. You want me, Gu, to stop being the crown prince? Fine, I can give that up too. I stared at him in shock. He's gone mad, truly mad. I softened my tone. Your Highness, let go first, and we'll talk properly. Huazheng's eyes lit up. You're willing to listen to me. Let go first. He released his hand. I immediately stepped back a few paces to put some distance between us. I took a deep breath. Your Highness, I'll pretend I never heard what you just said. Please go back and prepare properly for your marriage to Miss Shu. Huazheng's face darkened. You still refuse to forgive Gu. I fell silent. Is it because of Xie Yanzu? Because he proposed to you, you refuse to turn back? It has nothing to do with him. Then it is because of him. A murderous gleam passed through Huazheng's eyes. Fine, very fine. I want to see whether a poor scholar who topped the provincial exam can protect you. My heart tightened. What do you intend to do? What are you doing? He laughed, the smile cold and sinister. Chu Huaitang, remember this. As long as I am the crown prince, you can forget about marrying anyone else. With that, he turned and left. His steps faltered, yet his retreating figure radiated a resolute madness. I stood where I was, hands and feet ice cold. Peony walked over and asked cautiously, My lady, His Highness the Crown Prince, will he do anything harmful to Xie Yuan? I don't know. I closed my eyes, but I know Huazheng is a man of his word. In my past life, he could neglect me for 10 years for the sake of Shu Linlang. in this life, he would stop at nothing. To ruin my marriage, Xie Yunju, can he withstand the crown prince's suppression? 13. The day Xie Yunju came to propose marriage was a sunny one. He was dressed in a brand new azure long robe, wearing a jade crown, his posture straight, his brows and eyes smiling. A few servants carrying shoulder poles followed behind him, and the loads held the betrothal gifts. Father received him in the front hall. I sat in the backyard and heard faint voices coming from the front. Peony ran about excitedly. Miss. Among the betrothal gifts Xie Zhuangyuan brought, there's a pair of jade ruyi. They're so beautiful, and a few bolts of cloud brocade. They say they're the latest patterns from Jiangnan. I shook my head with a smile. Look at you, happier than I am. Of course I'm happy, Peony said. Xie Zhuangyuan is a handsome and cultivated man, and sincere toward you, much better than that one. She didn't finish, but I knew whom she meant. Hu Zheng. These past few days, rumors have been swirling through the capital. They say His Highness the Crown Prince is so besotted with the young lady of the Chu family that he even wants to break off his betrothal to the Shu family. Minister Shu was so furious that he impeached the Crown Prince in court, saying the Crown Prince's conduct is lacking and he is unfit for great responsibility. His Majesty was furious and punished the Crown Prince by confining him to the Eastern Palace to reflect behind closed doors, but none of this could stop Hu Zheng though. Confined, he still sent people to keep watch outside the Chu residence every day. Whenever I went out occasionally, I could always feel eyes watching from the shadows. He's watching me, or rather, he's waiting for a chance to snatch me back, Peony whispered. Miss, those guards outside, should we tell Xie Zhuangyuan? No, I shook my head. This is between me and the Crown Prince. We shouldn't drag him into it. But, I stood up. Let's go to the front hall. It's time to receive our guest. As I walked to the entrance of the front hall, I heard Xie Yunzhou's voice. I know that, given my humble background, I would be reaching above my station with Miss Chu, but I promise, I will never fail her in this lifetime. No concubines, no kept mistress, one life, one person, only her. Father was silent for a moment, then said, "These are words you should say to Huai Tang." "Yes," Xie Yunzhu replied, "I will." I push the door open and walk in. When Xie Yunzhu sees me, his eyes light up. He stands and says, "Miss Chu, Lord Xie." I curtsy. Father rises. "You two chat, I'll go take a look at the betrothal gifts." After he left, only the two of us remained in the hall. Xie Yunzhu walked up to me and took a brocade box from his bosom. "What's this?" I asked. "One of the betrothal gifts." He opened the brocade box. Inside was a jade hairpin carved from white jade into the shape of a begonia blossom, its petals thin as cicada wings, with a touch of rosy red at the stamens, like a naturally formed infusion of blood. Xie Yunzhou said softly, "This hairpin was given to me by my mother. She said if I ever met someone I wanted to spend my life with, I should give this hairpin to her." My heart stirred. He looked at me, his gaze earnest. "Miss Chu, I know this marriage came about suddenly. I also know that your agreeing to marry me may not be out of romantic love." I lowered my eyes, he noticed. "But that's okay. The rest of our lives, it will be long. I have enough time to let you know me, to accept me. If in the end you still can't love me, I will never force you. By then, I will give you a divorce paper and set you free." I lifted my eyes to him and asked, "You know I might never love you, so why still marry me?" Xie Yunzhu smiled, that smile gentle like the warmth of spring sunshine. "Because, from the first time I saw you at Xian Temple, I knew you were a special woman. You don't crave power or vanity. You only want someone sincere, and I happen to want someone sincere too." He paused. Then continued, "Miss Chu, I won't say I love you now, but I can promise I will respect you, cherish you, and protect your safety and happiness for life. As for love, we can take it slowly." I looked into his clear eyes, and something in my heart suddenly softened. I took the brocade box. "This hairpin, I accept it. As for the divorce paper, I think I won't need it." A flash of surprise passed through Xie Yunzhou's eyes. "You mean," I said softly, "I mean, I'm willing to try to love someone, to try living a life completely different from my past." Xie Yunzhu smiled, his smile bright as sunlight breaking through clouds. "Good, we'll take it slowly." 14. The wedding was set for 3 months from now. on the 6th day of the 6th month, a very auspicious day. During these 3 months I was busy preparing the dowry and embroidering a wedding gown, while Xie Yunju served his duty at the Hanlin Academy and also bought a small courtyard in the outer city to be our bridal chamber. He said there was an old flowering crabapple in the yard that, when in bloom, filled the tree with pale pink and white as if it had been dusted with snow. The crabapple in the Eastern Palace in my past life was also pale pink and white, blooming so magnificently. Yet each time the flowers fell I felt only desolation. Perhaps this life will be different. The closer the wedding came, the quieter Huizheng became, so quiet it made one uneasy. Xiaoyaro said the crown prince had been sent by His Majesty to inspect river works in Jiangnan and would not return for 2 months. I breathed a sigh of relief. Good, with him absent from the capital the wedding might go more smoothly. Still, a faint unease lingered in my heart, like the calm before a storm. 10 days before the wedding, Xie Yunzu's younger sister Xie Yunshu arrived in the capital. She was 5 years younger than Xie Yunzu, just turned 14 this year. Her brows and eyes resembled Xie Yunzu's by about 70%. But she had a few more of a girlish sweetness. Sister-in-law, she called affectionately as soon as she saw me. My face flushed. We're not married yet. Don't call me that so freely. We will be soon anyway. Xie Yunshu hooked her arm through mine. Brother always mentions you in his letters, saying sister-in-law is both beautiful and gentle, and that you write such lovely calligraphy. I'm so envious. She made me laugh. Xie Yunshu was lively, chattering non-stop. Sister-in-law, can we see each other often from now on? She asked, blinking. Of course, I nodded. Once your brother sets up the house, you can move in and live with us. Really? Xie Yunshu's eyes lit up. Brother always says he's afraid of troubling you and forbids me from coming. I smiled. How could that be a trouble? Family should live together. Xie Yunshu jumped for joy, looking at her innocent, carefree manner. I suddenly remembered my past life. When I entered the Eastern Palace at 15, I too had been full of hopes for marriage, but 10 years of neglect ground away all my enthusiasm and expectations. This life, with a sister like Xie Yunshu and a husband like Xie Yunzu, perhaps I could really be happy. After sending Xie Yunshu off, Xiaoyaro rushed in looking flustered. Miss, it's bad. What happened? Outside, people are saying that scholar Xie, he's been implicated in an exam cheating case. The teacup in my hand fell with a crack to the floor, shattering. What did you say? Xiaoyao nearly cried. Someone reported that when scholar Xie took the provincial exam years ago he bribed the examiners. That's how he passed. Now the Ministry of Justice has opened a case and will investigate thoroughly. My head buzzed. Cheating in the imperial examinations is a capital crime. Xie Yunju would never do such a thing. It must be a frame-up. Who could do it? The answer was obvious. Huizheng. Only he had the motive and the means to manufacture such a false case. Where is Xie Yunju now? I asked. Xiaoyaro cried out. Taken by the Ministry of Justice. They said he's being detained pending trial. I stood up. Prepare a carriage. To the Ministry of Justice. Miss, you can't go. Xiaoyaro grabbed me. You can't go to a place like that. I pushed her away. I must. He's my fiancé. I can't watch him be wronged. I changed into my outer clothes, put on a veil and had the coachman drive straight to the Ministry of Justice prison. The cell was dark and damp, the air thick with mildew and the metallic tang of blood. Xie Yunju was held in the innermost cell. He wore prison garb and sat on a pile of straw, his hair disheveled but his expression relatively calm. Yunju, I called to him through the bars. He looked up, saw me, and froze for a moment. Huitong, what are you doing here? I gripped the railing. I heard something happened to you and came right away. What on earth is going on? Xie Yunzu smiled bitterly. Someone accused me of bribing the examiners during the provincial exam 3 years ago. The evidence is a thank you letter I supposedly wrote to an examiner, and a cashing ticket for 300 taels of silver. That letter was forged, I said firmly. He nodded. The handwriting was imitated very well, but the way a few characters were written differs from my usual habits. The cashing ticket for the silver was fake too. I never cashed that money. What did the Ministry of Justice say? They're still investigating. Xie Yunjiao paused. But His Highness the Crown Prince is personally overseeing the case, so the Ministry of Justice, Probably won't dare dig too deep. As expected, it's Hu Zheng. He's forcing me. I ground out through gritted teeth. Xie Yunqiu looked at me, his expression complicated. Huaitang, I'm sorry, I dragged you into this. What nonsense. I shook my head. The one who should be apologizing is me. If it weren't for me, you wouldn't have. No, Xie Yunqiu cut me off. Even without you, His Highness the Crown Prince wouldn't tolerate me. I was stunned. Xie Yunqiu said slowly. These days I've been at the Hanlin Academy, and His Highness the Crown Prince has hinted multiple times that I should take the initiative to break off the engagement. He said that as long as I dissolve the engagement, he'll ensure my career goes smoothly and I rise swiftly. If I refuse, he'll see me ruined and disgraced. I gripped the railing, my nails almost embedded in the wood. Hu Zheng, so you still resorted to this method, after all, in our past life. You neglected me and ignored me in this life. Since you can't have me, you're out to destroy the one I love. How did you answer him? I asked, my heart uneasy. Will I be abandoned again? Xie Yunqiu smiled softly. I said, even if I'm ruined and disgraced, even if there's no redemption, I still won't let go of your hand. My eyes burned. Idiot, it is kind of stupid, he said with a smile, but it's worth it. Looking into his clear eyes, a warm current welled up in my heart, and I found new courage. Yunqiu, do you trust me? I do. I let go of the railing. Then just stay here and don't worry, I'll get you out, Xie Yunqiu hurriedly said. Huatang, don't do anything reckless. His Highness the Crown Prince, I interrupted him calmly. I know, but I have a way. Hu Zheng, you forced me into this. 16. I went to the Eastern Palace. Hu Zheng was sitting in the study, reviewing memorials. Seeing me come in, he put down his brush, the corners of his lips slightly curved. You finally came. Your Highness knew I would come, I said calmly. Of course. He stood up and walked to me. I know you very well. You are loyal and sentimental. You would never stand by and watch Xie Yunqiu be wronged, so your Highness used such a despicable method. I raised my eyes to look at him. The smile on Hu Zheng's face faded. Despicable, he sneered. Chu Huaitang, you forced me. I gave you a chance, and you didn't cherish it. I laughed. An opportunity. Your Highness's so-called opportunity is to make me your secondary consort, or your hidden mistress kept out of sight. Hu Zheng's face darkened. Jiyu has said it. Jiyu will break off the engagement and marry you as the principal consort. And what about Miss Shu? I asked. What will happen to her? She will understand. Understand. I only found it laughable. Your Highness, you're always like this. You arrange everything self-righteously, yet never consider other people's feelings. Hu Zheng stared at me, fury surging in his eyes. Chu Huaitang, must you oppose Jiyu? I shook my head. It's not that I want to oppose your Highness, it's your Highness who's forcing me. He suddenly seized my wrist. Jiyu is trying to save you. I shook off his hand coldly. Save me? Your Highness's so-called saving me is throwing the man I love into prison, ruining his future, and possibly costing him his life. Hu Zheng's hand froze in midair, and his gaze darkened. Xie Yunqiu isn't worthy of you. He's from a poor family. What can he offer you? He can't even protect himself. How could he possibly keep you safe? I fixed my eyes on Hu Zheng and said, enunciating each word, at least he doesn't treat me like an object, a puppet to be manipulated at will. Your Highness, in my past life for 10 years, you know well the kind of days I spent in the Eastern Palace. Every day I reported at dawn and dusk, managed the household affairs, and dealt with those endless court banquets and social obligations. When you occasionally came to my room, it was only to maintain the appearance of harmony between the Crown Prince and the Crown Princess. You never asked whether I was willing, never asked what I wanted. Hu Zheng's face paled slightly. In my previous life it was my fault. I know, my expression was icy, my look mocking. So what if you know, in this life, aren't you the same? You think Xie Yunqiu is unworthy of me, so you want to destroy him. You think I should return to your side, so you use your power to force me to comply. Your Highness, you have never changed. What you love is not Chu Huaitong the person. You love the position of Crown Princess that must be controlled by you. You love that whatever you want must be obtained. Hu Zheng's voice suddenly shot higher. No, it's true that True what? I sneered. True that you regret it. True that you've fallen in love with me. What about Xu Linlang then? How does your highness plan to deal with her, like in the last life? Will you shower her with favor, give her children, and let me continue to be a mere ornament in name only? Hu Zheng opened his mouth, but not a single word came out. I said softly, you see, you're always like this, you want everything and aren't willing to let go of anything. But in this world, how can everything turn out perfectly for everyone? Hu Zheng clenched his fists, his knuckles showing a terrifying bluish-white. The study was deathly silent, with only the tick-tock of the water clock echoing in the air. After a long time, he finally spoke, his voice hoarse as if scraped by sandpaper. What will it take for you to believe Gu? I shook my head. I won't believe you no matter what, Your Highness. Some trust, once shattered, can never be pieced back together. 10 years of neglect, cup after cup of bitter medicine, and in the end dying alone on the sickbed. How can you expect me to trust? I took a deep breath, forcing down the sob rising in my throat. This life, I only want to live for myself once. Marry Xie Yunqiu, live a simple and peaceful life, have children and grow old together. Your Highness, if you truly want to make amends, please let me go. Hu Zheng looked at me, his eyes surging with pain, unwillingness, and despair. If I refused to let go, he asked in a low voice. With a barely perceptible tremor in it, I said calmly, then all Your Highness will get is a corpse. I already died once in my past life. I'm not afraid to die a second time. Hu Zheng's body jolted violently. You're using death to threaten me. I met his gaze. If Your Highness insists on destroying my marriage, on destroying Xie Yunzu, then there's no meaning for me to live either. Better to die cleanly. It would spare Your Highness the trouble. Hu Zheng suddenly grabbed my shoulders, his grip so strong it nearly crushed my bones. You love him that much? Love him enough to die for him? I frowned in pain but didn't struggle. I only looked back into his eyes. With determination, Hu Zheng's hand began to tremble. He stared at me, his eyes slowly reddening. All right. He let go, staggered back, and collapsed into the chair. You can go. I was stunned. Go back and prepare for your wedding. He closed his eyes, his voice utterly exhausted. I'll withdraw Xie Yunzhou's case. Your Highness, go, he barked. Before I changed my mind, I gave him one last look, then turned and left. 17. Xie Yunzhou was released the next day. The Ministry of Justice closed the case on the grounds of insufficient evidence, and both the forged letter and the redeemed silver notes were destroyed. Xie Yunzhou was reinstated to his original post and returned to his duties at the Hanlin Academy. When he came to the Chu residence to see me, he'd lost weight, but his spirits were still good. He took my hand. Huaitang, I'm sorry, it's my fault. I wasn't capable enough to protect you and even made you take risks for me. I leaned on his shoulder. It's not your fault, it's Hu Zheng. He's too obsessive. Xie Yunzhou tightened his arms and held me closer. Huitang, after we marry, I'll apply for an outside posting, leave the capital, go serve as a magistrate in the provinces or as an assistant governor, far away from the capital, far away from the crown prince. I looked up at him. You'd give up your position in the Hanlin Academy. That's the Emperor's close court. So many people would kill for it. I would. He didn't hesitate. No matter how high the office, it's not as important as you. I just want to live a peaceful life with you. Nothing else matters. My eyes warmed. Hu Zheng never said such things to me. He always placed power, status, and ambition first, and I was only a pawn on his board, a piece that could be discarded once used. All right, I said softly, let's leave the capital. Maybe we can plant a few acres, raise a few chickens, and live a simple life. Xie Yunzhou laughed and teased. You, a young miss from a wealthy family, know how to farm and raise chickens. I laughed too. If I don't know, I can learn. It's better than scheming and plotting in the Eastern Palace. We looked at each other and smiled, our eyes filled with longing for the future. The wedding day was drawing closer and closer. Hu Zheng did keep his promise and didn't come to bother me again. Xu Linlang did come once, bringing a set of ruby jewelry as a wedding gift. She looked haggard, with bloodshot eyes. Clearly, she wasn't doing well. Thank you. I accepted the gift and prepared to leave. Xu Linlang suddenly spoke. His Highness the Crown Prince, he's fallen ill. I was stunned. Ever since you left the Eastern Palace last time, he's been sick. the high fever won't break, and he keeps calling your name. The imperial physician says it's an ailment of the heart. I fell silent. Couldn't you go see him? Xu Linlang looked at me with reddened eyes. Pitiful and pleading, I shook my head firmly. Please, go back, and thank His Highness for his favor on my behalf. After Xu Linlang left, I stood by the window, motionless for a long time. Hu Zheng is ill because of my refusal. There were ripples in my heart, but I quickly suppressed them. I must not be soft-hearted. Once soft, I will repeat the same mistakes. In this life, I must be ruthless. The 6th day of the 6th month, the wedding day, before dawn, Xiaoyaro woke me, bathing, dressing, changing clothes. By the time the whole routine was done, 2 hours had passed. In the mirror, I wore a red bridal gown, a phoenix crown on my head, my face like a peach blossom. A commotion suddenly rose outside. Xiaoyaro whispered, "Miss, outside, the crown prince has come." My hand trembled and my lip rouge smudged. What is he here for? Xiaoyaro shook her head. I don't know. Master is receiving him in the front hall. But don't worry, Scholar Xie will arrive soon. When the auspicious hour comes, he'll escort you out. I took a deep breath and steadied myself. What is meant to come will come. In the front hall, Hu Zheng was indeed there. He wore an apricot yellow prince's court robe, his face pale, with dark bluish shadows under his eyes, clearly not yet fully recovered, but his posture remained upright and his bearing still noble. Father stood beside him, his expression tense. Seeing me come out, Hu Zheng looked up. When our eyes met, a flash of astonishment crossed his face. Then deep pain. He spoke softly to me. Huaitang, today, you are very beautiful. I bent my knee and bowed. Thank you for the compliment, Your Highness. Hu Zheng stepped forward a few paces and took a brocade box from his bosom. This is a congratulatory gift I give you. I hesitated for a moment, then accepted it, opening it. Inside was a red gold hairpin set with a large ruby. The gem was substantial and the workmanship exquisite, clearly an item from the palace. This is too valuable. I dare not accept it. I closed the brocade box and handed it back to him. Hu Zheng did not take it. Keep it. Then, consider it my compensation to you. My hand froze. Your Highness, the past is already behind us. You don't need to make amends, and I don't need them. Hu Zheng looked at me, emotions surging in his eyes. After a long while, he finally said slowly, Chu Huaitang, this is the last time I ask you, do you truly want to marry him? I do. Do you not regret it? I don't. Hu Zheng closed his eyes and took a deep breath. When he opened them again, his eyes were already lifeless. Very well, I wish you 100 years of harmony, to grow old together, he said. This with extreme difficulty, as if it took all the strength in his body. Thank you, Your Highness. I bowed once more. At that moment, joyous wedding music sounded from outside. Xie Yunju has arrived. He is dressed in bright red wedding robes, riding a white horse, with an 8-bearer palanquin following behind. Sunlight falls on him, setting off his jade-like features and spirited bearing. Hu Zheng watches this scene, his face growing a shade paler. He turned and said to his father, Lord Chu, I still have matters to attend to. I'll be leaving first. Your subject respectfully sees Your Highness off. Hu Zheng reached the doorway and paused, but did not turn back. He only spoke a few words in a low voice. Chu Huaitang, live well. With that, he strode away. I stood where I was, watching his figure disappear beyond the door. At last, it's completely over. 19. The wedding went smoothly, bowing to heaven and earth, paying respects, entering the bridal chamber. Everything proceeded step by step. In the bridal room, red candles burned high, filling the room with festive joy. When Xie Yunju lifted the bridal veil, his hands trembled slightly. He looked at me, eyes full of tenderness. Huaitang, I've finally married you. My face flushed, and I lowered my head. He sat beside me and took my hand. Nervous? He asked. A little, I admitted. So am I, he said with a smile. Even more nervous than on the day of the palace exam. He made me laugh. The atmosphere eased a little after drinking the nuptial wine and eating the fertility pastries. The maids and matrons withdrew, leaving just the two of us in the room. Xie Yunju looked at me, his gaze gentle and intent. In a soft voice, he said, Huaitang, I will treat you well. I'll treat you well for a lifetime. I blushed with shame. One night, The red canopy swayed, springtime charms were enchanting. 20 Married life was very peaceful. Xie Yunju is on duty at the Hanlin Academy, leaving early and returning late every day. I manage the household at home, take care of Xie Yunshu, and occasionally practice calligraphy and embroidery. Life is simple yet fulfilling as expected. Xie Yunju applied for an out-of-capital post at first. His Majesty did not approve, saying he was a top scholar and would have a brighter future if he stayed in the capital. But after Xie Yunjiao pleaded again and again, His Majesty finally agreed, appointing him as the prefect of Huayan in Jiangnan, a full fourth-rank post, to take office in 3 months. Huayan is 1,000 li from the capital. With high mountains and distant waters perfect, far from the capital, far from Huazheng, a new life begins. Xie Yunshu was overjoyed. Brother, sister-in-law, are we really going to Jiangnan? Let me tell you, Jiangnan is so beautiful. There are little bridges and flowing water, apricot blossoms and misty rain. Yes, I smiled. We'll take you to tour the West Lake and stroll through the gardens. Wonderful. Xie Yunshu clapped her hands. Everything was moving in a good direction until that day. I returned to the Chu residence to visit my parents, and on the way back, my carriage was stopped. It was the Eastern Palace guards who stopped it. The captain of the guards said respectfully, Madam Chu, Xie, His Highness the Crown Prince invites you. My heart sank. Your Highness, did you need something from me? I do not know. My lady, I was merely ordered to invite you. I hesitated for a moment, then got out of the carriage. Huazheng is waiting for me in a private room at the tea house. He sits by the window, looking at the bustling street below. His profile appears a bit solitary in the sunlight. Your Highness, I bow. He turns his head and looks at me. It's been a few months since I last saw him. He'd lost a lot of weight, his eye sockets sunken, but his gaze was still sharp. Sit. He pointed to the chair opposite. I sat down, keeping my distance. I heard Xie Yunzhou is being posted to Huayan. He began. Yes, the prefect of Huayan is of the 4th rank, so it's not exactly an injustice to him. Huazheng paused. But Huayan suffered floods last year. The people's livelihoods are ruined and banditry is rampant. Being that prefect is not an easy job. My chest tightened. What does your Highness mean? Huazheng lifted his teacup and took a sip. It means nothing. Just a reminder. Jiangnan is not a paradise. Xie Yunzu is a scholar. He may not be up to the task, I said calmly. Yunzu has learning and capability. I believe he can govern Huayan well. Is that so? Huazheng looked up at me. Then what if I don't let him go? I clenched my hands. Your Highness promised to spare us. Huazheng set down the teacup. I did promise, but I regret it now. Your Highness, I stood up. What exactly do you want? Huazheng stood as well and walked up to me. He was much taller than me. Looking down at me from above, his eyes surging with suppressed emotion, he murmured, Chu Huaitang, these past few months, I've tried to forget you. I tried drinking, tried finding other women, tried pouring all my energy into state affairs, but it didn't work, not at all. He reached out, wanting to touch my face. I stepped back, avoiding him. His hand froze in midair. Every time I close my eyes, I see you wearing a wedding dress, marrying someone else. His voice was hoarse. I'm going mad, Huaitang. I'm really going mad. I took a deep breath. Your Highness, we are already married. I am Xie Yunzu's wife for this life. You need to let go. I can't let go. He shook his head. I've tried. I really can't let go. I lifted my eyes and asked back, then what do you want to do? Seize the minister's wife by force? Your Highness, you are the crown prince, the future emperor. Are you going to do something that will bring infamy for 1,000 years? Huazheng smiled, the smile bitter. What does infamy for 1,000 years matter? I've even lost you. What use is that hollow title? A chill ran through my heart. As expected, he still hadn't given up. He stepped closer. Huaitang, come with me. I'll take you away from the capital, to a place where no one knows us. We won't be crown prince or emperor, just an ordinary married couple. I looked at him in shock. Your Highness, pull yourself together. On your shoulders rests the realm and its people. You can't leave. Huazheng's gaze was almost fanatical. I can leave, as long as I want to. There's nothing I can't leave. The crown prince's position, this kingdom, I can do without them. I took a step back, putting distance between us. Your Highness, don't speak in anger. You are of the Tian family bloodline, the crown prince, the future emperor. You carry the entire realm of Great Zhu on your shoulders. This is not something you can simply refuse. Huizheng stepped forward and grabbed my wrist. I'm not just saying this angrily. Huai Tang, come with me, right now. The carriage is already prepared outside the city. We'll go to Jiangnan, to Shu, anywhere, just leave the capital. His grip was very strong, his squeeze making my wrist ache. Let me go, I struggled. No, madness surged in Huizheng's eyes. This time, Jiyu will never let go. He grabbed me and tried to drag me outside. I fought desperately. Huizheng, you're insane. I'm a married woman. If you do this, you'll ruin yourself. Then let it be destroyed, he rasped. Without you, there's no point in my living anyway. The private room's door was suddenly pushed open. Xie Yunzhou stood at the doorway, his face ashen. Behind him followed a few guards and the tea-house's shopkeeper, all looking terrified. Let her go. Xie Yunzhou's voice was as cold as ice. Huizheng stopped in his tracks and turned to look at him. The two men locked eyes, the air thick with a tense, confrontational charge. Huizheng sneered. Xie Yunzhou, you're too late. Huaitang must leave with Jiyu today. Xie Yunzhou enunciated each word. She is my wife. Your Highness, are you trying to forcibly take my wife? Huizheng refused to yield. Looking at him provocatively. So what if I am the crown prince? If I want a woman, who would dare say no? Xie Yunzhou stepped forward, looking Huizheng straight in the eye. I dare. He was not as tall or large as Huizheng, but standing there straight with a resolute gaze. He carried an aura that brooked no violation. Your Highness, you are the heir apparent, a model for all the people. If you truly seize a minister's wife by force today, impeachment memorials from the censorate will be flying to His Majesty's desk like snowflakes tomorrow. When that happens, will your position as crown prince still be secure? Huizheng's expression changed. Xie Yunzhou continued. I know your Highness has feelings for Huaitang, but matters of the heart hinge on mutual consent. Huaitang has already chosen me. I ask your Highness to respect her choice, and to respect your own position. Shut up, Huizheng snapped. If you hadn't come between us and stolen her, how would Huaitang have married you? Xie Yunzhou laughed, the smile laced with sarcasm. Stolen her, your Highness. You were the one who gave up on Huaitang first, at the selection banquet. It was you who said Miss Shu would be a good match. Now Huaitang has found her own happiness, and you want to ruin it again. Your Highness, this is not love, it's possessiveness. Huizheng's breathing grew heavy. What do you know? He shouted. She should have been my wife. Xie Yunzhou said calmly. If your Highness insists on living in the shadow of the past, you will only hurt yourself and others. He looked at me, his gaze gentle. Huaitang, come here. I tried to wrench my hand free from Huizheng's, but he gripped tighter. Huizheng, let go. In my past life I repaid for 10 years. That's enough. In this life, let me live the life I want, okay? Huizheng looked at the tears in my eyes, his hand trembling slightly. Huaitang, his voice was hoarse. I truly know I was wrong. Truly, I know, I said softly, but I don't love you anymore. That sentence was like a knife, plunging into his heart. Huizheng staggered backward and let go of my hand. I immediately ran to Xie Yunzhou's side. Xie Yunzhou sheltered me behind him, looking coldly at Huizheng. Your Highness, I can act as if what happened today never occurred, but if there is a next time, even if it costs me my life, I will protect Huaitang completely. Huizheng stood where he was, watching our hands clasped together, the last trace of light in his eyes extinguishing. He suddenly laughed. His laughter was desolate, tinged with despair. All right, he muttered. You can go. Xie Yunzhou pulled me along and turned to leave. When I reached the doorway, I couldn't help turning back for a glance. Huizheng was still standing where he was, his back to us, his shoulders trembling slightly. Sunlight streamed in through the window, stretching his lonely shadow long like a mountain on the verge of collapse. 21 3 days later, we set out for Huayan. Xie Yunzhou resigned from his post at the Hanlin Academy, and I said goodbye to my parents as well. Mother wept like a tearful mess, and father's eyes turned red too. My mother held my hand. Huaitang, when you go to Jiangnan, take good care of yourself. If you suffer any grievances, Right back, I know, mother, I nodded. Xie Yunqiu gave a solemn bow. Father-in-law, mother-in-law, rest assured your son-in-law will definitely take good care of Huaitong. My father patted his shoulder. Yunqiu, I'm entrusting Huaitong to you. Treat her well, your son-in-law will keep that in mind. The carriage slowly rolled out of the capital. I lifted the curtain and looked back. The towering city gates gradually receded. This imperial city that trapped me for 2 lifetimes was finally left behind at last. Freedom. The carriage headed south toward Jiangnan, toward our new life. 22 We settled down in Huayan. Xie Yunju quickly threw himself into official duties. Hurried did suffer flooding last year. Many commoners were displaced, and the fields lay fallow each day. Xie Yunju left early and returned late, inspecting the river embankments, comforting the disaster victims, and rectifying official conduct. As for me, I managed the household at the residence and occasionally went to help at the orphanage outside the city, teaching those orphans to read and write. Life was simple and fulfilling. Hua Zheng, Xu Linlang, and all those past life grudges and entanglements, they felt like a dream, gradually fading until that day Xie Yunju returned from the Yamen, his expression grave. What happened? I asked. News from the capital. He paused. His Highness the Crown Prince has been deposed. I was taken aback. Forming cliques for personal gain, embezzling disaster relief funds, and Xie Yunju glanced at me. Forcibly taking civilian women, driving people to their deaths. My hand trembled, and the teacup almost fell to the ground. When did this happen? A month ago. Xie Yunju took my hand. His Majesty flew into a rage, deposed him from the Crown Prince's position, and confined him in the imperial clan court. The Shu family was implicated as well. Minister Shu was dismissed, and Xu Linlang, on the very night the Crown Prince was deposed, hanged herself. I closed my eyes. Xu Linlang is dead. That woman who had basked in glory her entire previous life chose such an ending in this one. And what about Hua Zheng? I asked. Still in the imperial clan court, Xie Yunju said softly. They say he's gone mad. Mad, so he really has gone mad. Xie Yunju looked at me. Huaichang, if you want to see him one last time, I'll go with you. I shook my head. I'm not going. So what if we meet again? It would only add to the sorrow. It's all in the past, I said softly. Xie Yunjiao pulled me into his arms. Yeah, it's all in the past. 23 Another 3 years passed under Xie Yunzhou's governance. Huayan gradually came back to life. The flooding was brought under control. The fields were tilled again, and the markets grew prosperous. The common folk all said that Prefect Xie was a good official. In these 3 years, I gave birth to a pair of boy and girl twins. The elder brother is named Xie Ranning, and the younger sister is named Xie Jinghao. Take the meaning of a tranquil life and a stable world. Xie Yunzu adored these 2 children immensely and insisted on hugging and kissing them every day when he came home. The days were calm and happy. Occasionally, news from the capital would arrive. They say the deposed Crown Prince Hua Zheng is in the imperial clan court, sometimes lucid, sometimes confused. When lucid, he writes poems and paints, always of the same woman. When confused, he mutters to the wall, laughing and crying by turns. His Majesty has gone to see him several times, and each time leaves with a sigh. In the end, he's still their own son. No matter how disappointed they are, they still ache for him. But none of this has anything to do with me anymore. That mid-autumn festival, our family admired the moon in the courtyard. The 2 children could already walk, wobbling as they ran around the yard chasing rabbit lanterns. Xie Yunju held my hand, gazing at the bright moon in the sky. Moonlight flowed like water, bathing the courtyard. The children's laughter was clear and melodious. Xie Yunshu was teaching them to recite a poem, May we all live long, sharing the beauty of the moon across 1,000 miles. I lean against Xie Yunju's chest, gazing at the full moon in the sky, my heart filled with calm and happiness. The pains of a past life, the entanglements that once were, are like drifting clouds and smoke, gradually fading into the passage of time. All that remains is the person before me, the moon before me, and this tranquil, gentle moment of time. 24. 3 years later, the deposed Crown Prince Hua Zheng died in the imperial clan court. They say he was very lucid before he died and left a letter with only one sentence, Chu Huaitong, in this life. It is I who owe you, in the next life. No, There is no next life, forget it, and live your days well. When the letter reached Hwaian, I was teaching Anning to write. Sia Yunju handed me the letter. I read it and was silent for a long time. Then I walked into the yard and threw the letter into the stove where we boiled water. Flames leapt up, swallowing the paper in an instant. It turned to smoke and drifted away on the wind, just like that old karmic entanglement from a past life. Finally, and completely resolved, Anning tilted his little face up and asked, "Mother, what are you burning?" I patted his head. "Come, Mother will teach you a new character." "What character are we writing?" I laughed and said, "Writing the character Fu, the good fortune Fu." "What is good fortune?" I looked out the window. Xie Yuncho was walking over holding Jinghao. Sunlight poured over them, warm and gentle. Good fortune is this right now, the family together, safe and sound, happy and content. And Ning nodded, seeming to half understand. I took his small hand and wrote a neat on the paper, one horizontal, one vertical, one left falling stroke, one right flick, each stroke steady, each character at peace, just like life now.